Hey, hello, sacred friend. Welcome back. I am Lori Andrus, and welcome to another episode of the Luminary Life Podcast. Today, we are going to sink into conversation about life changing direction. Have you had that happen? Has that happened recently for you? Maybe, maybe not. But my guess is that at some point or another, this has happened or will happen in your world. And maybe this is a conversation for you to earmark for later. And if it's something that can support you right now, I am so happy to share what's unfolding in my world and some of the wisdom and insights that have been emerging for me as life is changing direction in ways I did not see coming. Okay, so let's see. I'm like, where do I really want to begin this conversation? I'm not entirely sure. I have about five different entry points for it. And I'm not sure which one really is the correct one to use. And I think every time I have tried to come into this conversation, because this is probably about take number 12, um, I've entered through a different gateway and none of them have felt entirely right. So I think what I'm going to do is just share kind of this overview of different aspects that want to show up, and we'll lean in and see where the conversation really wants to go. But ultimately, what has happened in my world is that Chris has had some significant health things show up. And it's prompted us to pull back from some of the activities and things that we typically would have had planned for our summer and our day-to-day life, and to really focus our energy into his health, his well-being, and the journey that is opening for us together at this time. But at the same time, I have this little chatter in the background, which is about the goals and the intentions and the dreams and the visions that I had set for this year and the ways that I pictured this year unfolding. You know, we all kind of have a little picture in our mind. We think life is going to unfold in a particular way, and then life happens, and things get derailed for a bit, or life takes us on a bit of a different journey to in a different direction for a bit. And I feel like that's essentially what's happening. And I'm not entirely sure where it's taking us or how all of this, comes together. But I know that there's this is our path right now. This is where we are going, and that is okay. But it's interesting because one of the things that really has my attention right now is that we are at the Sagittarius full moon. That is on Sunday. And the Sagittarius full moon is the second full moon in the month of May. We opened with the Scorpio full moon. Here we are closing with the Sagittarius full moon. And this moon being a blue moon, second full moon within a month is a blue moon. So here we have this beautiful full moon and connected, balancing out the Sagittarius energy, that axis of Gemini Sagittarius, and completing or bringing completion to the cycle that was opened with the Sagittarius new moon back in December. So there's this full cycle. And that Sagittarius new moon was just before the winter solstice. So there's this really beautiful arc of energy that has been opened and that is coming into its full cycle. And it's a beautiful time to reevaluate where we are in moving towards some of the goals and the dreams and the visions that we activated with that new moon. It's a beautiful time to consider the ways that life has unfolded and some of the challenges and opportunities that have popped up, the ways that personal stories and fears and limitations have emerged, and how we're navigating them, and to also really be present with those goals, dreams, visions, intentions that we set, and to consider if they are still in truth and alignment and in our hearts, and to just be lovingly present with them. Sometimes when we set intentions, when we have goals, We in our minds create a timeline, and we think things are going to unfold in a particular way. But every goal, every path, every journey, it has its own timeline. And this is one of the things that I've come to know over the years in doing sacred work. Everything unfolds in its perfect timing. And I can always see that in hindsight. But my Capricorn brain, which really likes to have a plan and a pathway and have things structured and move through with a beautiful system, um, it gets a little like kind of cringy when it doesn't unfold exactly as I think it should. It's okay. I got this. I got this. I got this. We all do, right? We know that there's a different thing, a different process that's unfolding. This full moon, though, it has me really thinking about some of those intentions that I set. And it also has me thinking about the journey that's unfolded since then. And there are a couple highlights or like couple like points that have really popped out and gotten my attention that are just really reminding me of those goals and also reminding me of the places and the points where I definitely have moved towards this vision and places where even though I maybe feel like I'm not holding that vision or not making the progress I thought I would be making, I absolutely am. And so I guess what I want to invite from this episode and from this share is for you to also create a little space in your world right now to pause and reflect on some of the goals and intentions you have for this year and the journey you have taken towards bringing those to life and to be present with the highs, the lows, and let yourself celebrate what has been going really well and honor and acknowledge the places where you've found yourself challenged. So, a couple of the things I want to highlight and share a little bit about because I think there's some medicine that wants to be woven in and it wants to be shared with you as well because perhaps it's medicine that aligns with your path and will support you on the way. And I also feel like there's a bit of just bringing voice to what I'm noticing that is really important. So the first thing that is really jumping out to me is is this piece around a couple crystals that showed up for me while I was in Tucson. So back in February, I went to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. And at the show, I kept finding myself called to one particular tent or vendor, which was a massive, massive football field sized tent, and one particular table within that tent, which had a whole collection of quartz crystals, just single quartz crystals from Brazil. Well, within those quartz crystals, there were two in particular that really jumped out to me. One came home with me, one did not, but the one that did not come home with me didn't come home because I had something similar at home and it felt like it was prompting me to spend some time with it at home. And the crystal that did not come home with me was called a bent quartz. Have you ever heard of that? So, we're going to talk a little bit about quartz formations for a minute. And this is one of those things that I sometimes geek out about. And if this is something you're interested in and you want to hear more about, let me know in the comments because I think this is such a fascinating aspect of working with quartz crystals. Quartz is the crystal ally for the year, and this showing up just feels aligned on many levels. But anyway, if you want to hear more about quartz formations, tell me in the comments. I'd love to know what you want to know about them. And yeah, drop that in. So back to bent quartz crystal. So what happens with a bent quartz crystal is a quartz crystal is formed or growing and it is in one particular direction. So let's say normal quartz crystal growing in one direction. And something happens that causes it to fracture and break. So seismic activity is one of those things. Maybe things shift within the earth. And instead of it just staying broken, it heals, it self heals. And in the process of self healing, its direction for one of the points shifts. Ah, isn't that interesting? Okay, so I have a piece here. I'm going to try and show it on camera. It might be a little wonky, but we'll see if I can get it. Okay, so you can see how there's a point here, and up at the other end, it literally bends and the point goes in a very different direction. So the main crystal goes like this and then it changes. So a bent crystal, it's also a master self-healed crystal. So this crystal, like it popped in, got my attention and really had me very curious. And I wanted to spend time with the one that I had at home. So I've been doing that. Well, I love to call these a change of direction crystal because they literally change direction. Something happens in life and it changes direction. And it prompts them to grow differently. And there's also through the self-healing, the new direction emerges. And so I feel like that's a part of what is really happening in my world right now. And I think this is also something that's happening on a collective level. I don't feel like this is just an exclusively personal thing. Yes, there's a personal way that this is showing up for me, but I think this is a collective thing as well. We've had a collective fracture in on many, many layers. And I think we can go back to COVID. We can go and just keep going and citing, significant collective events that have unfolded that have caused fractures. And within those fractures, there are opportunities for us to heal, to grow, and to change our direction. So, with that, I think one of the significant direction changes that's unfolding and that we're in the middle of and that we are healing and growing through is allowing ourselves to really come into alignment with our dreams, with our vision, and to move towards them in a way that we feel confident and courageous, and cultivating trust in our own inner wisdom and our inner knowing so that we create a life that reflects a wholly authentic expression of self. How cool is that? So, as we look at that crystal, this is such an incredible ally for this time where life is just so incredibly changing. And I want to invite you to just let yourself pause and consider the ways that life has changed direction over the past couple of years, and maybe even since the Sagittarius new moon, and prompted you to come into even deeper alignment with the visions, the hopes, the dreams, the desires, the goals, the intentions that you're setting and holding for yourself. I think, I talked earlier about how this full moon is a time to reflect on how we're making progress towards our goals and dreams, but it's also a time to really pause and get more granular with how we are aligned with them and how close, how specifically they match within ourselves. Are they incredibly true? Are aspects of them falling away because they aren't true anymore as we've come to know ourselves more intimately? The next thing around this piece of change of direction is one that just keeps showing up a lot. And I think this in particular is showing up with the health aspect of what's showing up for Chris. And that is, how are we honoring our vision and dreams? How are we honoring our bodies and what they need? How are we honoring this time to really be present with self and creating space for that? Life has a lot of responsibilities. We all know that. We we have we need to work. We have bills. We have, like financial responsibilities. We have responsibilities to other people. There are all these pieces of responsibility, right? But one of the things that historically, I think we as humans here on planet Earth have overlooked was really taking the time that we need to be present with ourselves, to nurture our own bodies, to nourish our own bodies in really great ways, giving ourselves enough space to pause, to recognize we are not machines and we cannot just keep going. We cannot just keep pushing through. We need to create space to be present. We need to create space to slow down. We need to create space to listen. And one of the most potent ways we can do that is by stepping out into nature, creating space for that. And one of the things that I think this full moon is creating space for with us is to Reflect on how the vision includes our vision for our path, for our lives. How does it include that aspect? Does it include time and space to nourish and nurture our bodies? Does it include time to be in nature? Is it in healthy relationship with all aspects of self? And that's a really interesting place to be present. And when we create space to do that, that is when things really begin to come into place. They come together. And so I want to invite you on this Sag full moon to just spend time considering that aspect as well. Is that part of your vision? Are you holding space for yourself to feel all of your emotions, to be present within your body, to nourish and nurture your body, to be wholly expressed with love and compassion, to be fully resourced and stable and present within, to get enough rest, to have enough energy? All of those aspects that are so important. Is that part of the vision that you're holding for yourself and for the world around you as we collectively weave together and create a new reality? Okay, so that was the first quartz crystal that really got my attention, but then there was another one. So the second quartz crystal that got my attention is one that has this little line of I'm going to call it energy or formation that runs down the shaft of the crystal. And this is known as a lightning strike crystal. Now, for those of you who are familiar or not familiar with this is regarded as a crystal that was struck by lightning or affected by a lightning strike. Now, this is highly disputed as to whether or not this is really something that happened as a result of a lightning strike. I really don't know one way or the other. And to me, that feels less significant. And what feels most significant is that the energy of the quartz crystal and this formation, this little line of formation that runs down the side, there is an energy that invites us to be present with those lightning bolt moments, those points in life where something wakes us up, where the light goes on and we have an awareness around what's happening and what is most important to us. It might feel a bit shocking or startling, jarring, surprising, unsettling, but regardless, as we move through that, we wake up in a way that we just can't see life differently. That the thing that is so important to us is just non-negotiable. That we find the courage and the confidence to move towards that. And we give ourselves permission. We no longer hold back. So these two crystals, these two different formations that showed up for me, really got my attention. So one being that bent crystal that invites a new direction, and the other being something that just creates an awakening energy, a lightning bolt moment. And I feel like the two of those, both of those crystals showing up back in February, it was giving me a bit of support, awareness, uh, invitation to be deeply present during this time as life is somewhat changing direction, as something is being awakened and being activated and creating an opportunity to be even more aware of what is most important, what is most aligned. And with this Sagittarius full moon, there's an invitation to be even more present with some of those goals, those intentions, those dreams, those visions, and consider how they are aligned. Now, like I said, with the bent crystal, the master self-healed quartz crystal, I think this lightning bolt quartz crystal is a message for all of us. It's bringing a message and medicine for all of us that it is okay if we have a slight change in direction It is natural right now. It is normal right now. It is okay if something has shaken up our reality in a way that brings us into deeper alignment with our goal and vision, that brings us into deeper alignment with our most authentic self and supports us in moving forward with greater momentum and energy and ease. And I feel like the combination of these two formations, weaving together, sharing messages today, is really about how are we moving forward? What is carrying us forward in our lives? What energy is emerging? What's showing up? And how are we navigating it in a way that is authentic, natural, and meaningful? What vision are we holding that is authentic, natural, and meaningful? And I know that for each of you in your heart, you already know that answer. You are already tapped into it. It's right there. It's alive. It's real for you. And I want to invite you to spend time with that, to honor yourself during this new moon, to honor what is in your heart and the ways you've moved towards your goals, and to honor the vision that you are bringing into form in the world right now. Your vision, your dreams, the things you hold in your heart, those are needed in the world right now. And I invite you to create them with so much love and so much joy. All right, so thank you for joining me today, sacred friend. And I would love to hear what jumped out for you as you sank into today's episode. What showed up and really felt like it pinged for you in a way that will support you on your path. And also, I'd love to hear, what do you want to know about crystal formations? Is that even something you're interested in? All right. So with that, sacred friend, enjoy this full moon, and I will see you again in the next episode. Until then, have a beautiful day and shine brightly. Bye for now.